My fiancé has always liked his sister better than me. He even let her plan our whole wedding. I told him she was his main chick, and he hit me. When Roy, 31M, and I, 30F, met in college, we hit it off right away. Now we're getting married. He is nice, smart, good-looking, and willing to help. We worked together to plan our whole future after we fell in love. We planned our retirement, our trips, our kids' college fund, our house number, and other things. I really love him a lot. He is my true love and best friend. He told me how proud he was of me every time I did something good. He gives me a lot of support for my goals and dreams. He would push me to do things I was afraid to do. He would reassure me again that I have enough skills and abilities. He would tell me how happy he was to have me as his girlfriend and give me praise every time I got ready to go out. Roy's sister Kim, 33F, was 10 years old when her dad left, but Roy was only 8 years old. His mother, Yami, 55F, never got married again. People really like and care about her. Kim rarely came to see us because she had to live somewhere else for work, so I never got to meet her. 8 months ago, we got engaged. In my country, the future bride and groom say their vows in front of close family and friends. Kim moved back to our city and got a job there. Things began to get tricky now. In this case, the parents of the bride and groom generally pay for the wedding. My dad hired a wedding planner and told me to work with them to make sure Roy and I had a great wedding. Kim would go with us everywhere, but my future mill wasn't involved in the planning when we first started. To the flowers, the chefs, the office of the wedding planner, and everyone else. Roy and I were meant to be by ourselves. He asked me to do some things, but I told him I didn't want to do them because we should have been doing them together. It was his job to let me know that Kim only wanted to go to her brother's wedding and that I should be nicer to her. To be honest, I wouldn't have cared if she hadn't talked and given her wise opinion. That flower scheme I chose is too soft, so I should choose a different one. They would say things like that won't give. The guests on the far left a good view when I suggest how the chairs should be set up. I planned to serve coconut custard at my wedding. This was my favorite treat ever when I was a kid, so when I got married, I planned to give it to my guests. But guess what? Not at all. Not made from coconut. I have a sickness. It annoys me the most that Roy always backs her up when I make choices that are different from hers. He refused to get into any fights. It doesn't matter which flower it is as long as you are my bride, he would say. Babe, that's not that important, give it up. It doesn't matter what happened with the coconut pudding as long as we were getting married and starting a new life together. His words, Kim is family, and I can't keep her from eating at our wedding, told me not to be self-centered because our families are also involved. I'm getting angry. It looks like Kim's wedding is being planned instead of ours. The last straw was when we went dress shopping for the wedding. The word wedding dress fits because it refers to what we usually wear. I loved this beautiful green dress that my mom picked out for me. Kim had to poke her head in here too, though. Since green isn't my color, she told me to try something else. Roy agreed with her. There were a few dresses I liked, but in the end I picked a rose gold one that I loved more than the green one. Then we went shopping for the family of the bride and groom. This BT, she really did pick out the same green dress and decide she was going to buy it when Kim's time came around. I laughed out loud. I left because I didn't want to make a fuss. Roy and I got into a big fight about this at home. He told me that green didn't look good on me and that Kim looked better in it. He also told me to stop acting like a child and that Kim picked out the outfit before I did. I thought my ears were crazy. It hit me for the first time since we started planning our wedding that he's always been on Kim's side and never mine. I couldn't believe the man I was seeing was the same one I fell in love with. Roy and Kim were very close because Roy lost their father when he was young. As kids, they were each other's best friends and biggest supporters. But that doesn't mean he can't side with her when it comes to our wedding and our plans. He used to brag about his sister to everyone, even if they didn't know him. When we were dating in college, they liked me a lot. If you think this is delicious, then you must try the coffee, he would say when someone told me how good the coffee I made tasted. My sister makes, etc. Even though it wasn't a big deal, it was annoying. I let it go because I knew he was close to her, but I can't let go this time. This is not Kim's wedding, it's ours. I yelled at him that if this wedding is going to happen, it had better be exactly how we both pictured it, or it's not going to happen at all. Roy got very angry with me and said I was jealous of his sister because I could never be as good as her. Even though Kim is nice, I am a mean person who holds a grudge against her. That all she wanted to do was help, etc. at all. I don't dislike her at all. I only want the perfect wedding. Ada. Changed. I'm now at my friend's house. I put this up and then cried, putting myself to sleep. When I woke up a few minutes ago, she told me that about 1,000 other people agree with her. I didn't want to read the comments because I was afraid of the obvious. Sorry, I really thought that everyone would tell me to cancel the wedding because he's not right for me. That wasn't said by any of you, which I appreciate. But I never thought about the things that everyone else brought up, like the mental abuse and how she might affect our future, including my children. Not even once. I don't understand why I wasn't able to see such things. I was such a fool. When I read the comments and thought about our relationship, I almost lost my hunger. He would say that their bond is stronger than that of other brothers because they had to go through hard times together after their father died, so I could have ignored them. I can't even stand up straight because it makes me so sad. I can't take this much more pain. When his mother called, I didn't answer. That's a lot. It is hard for me to breathe because I feel squished. What did my friend say? I think I might be worried. We're going to the doctor first. I don't think I'm ready to talk to anyone. This post will be long, so please be aware of that. There won't be a wedding. At home with me are my parents, my sister, and my best friends. So I could make sure I knew the order of events, we talked for a while. I forgot to include my 34-year-old sister Maya, who works abroad and came to visit a week ago to help me with the wedding planning and to spend time with me. Maya was tired from flying, so she stayed home on the day she was going to go shopping for wedding clothes. There was also my mom, 2 aunts, 4 cousins, 3 uncles, Roy, Kim, Yami, the new Mill, 2 aunts and 2 uncles of Roy. There were about 18 of us looking at wedding dresses, Roy following me back to his house, where we fought until I got mad and ran away. But my mom finally lost it at the store and couldn't hold it in. She yelled at Kim and called her rude names. Kim replied by calling me a bunch of bad names. The bride and groom on team started yelling at each other, and Yami tried to calm them down. When the cops arrived, they led them all out of the shop. It was a fight with Roy, and afterward I went to stay with a friend. And Kim was gone. No one in Kim's group of friends and family was home or at work, and she wasn't answering her phone. Roy and Yami looked everywhere for her because they were afraid for her safety. The next morning they found her at the house of distant cousins. When Yami called and asked if I knew where Kim might have gone, I didn't answer. I had a full-blown panic attack in the hospital while I was seeing the doctor. My heart rate went through the roof, and I started to hyperventilate. I was scared. I kept passing out, woke up for a short time, and then passed out again. I only remember that a needle went through my butt. Someone who was with me said I was awake and acting drunk the whole day I was asleep, but I don't remember anything that happened. I woke up in bed at my parents' house. I wasn't asked or talked to about what had happened. My mom asked me if I wanted coffee when she saw that I was awake, and as you might guess, her coffee is always better than Kim's. It felt great to put off thinking about the wedding and what happened afterward until later. That night I was asleep when I felt Maya hug me. I can still feel the tears running down my face and the warmth in my heart. She kept telling him to trust God and that everything would work out. It was okay to cry and say everything. When I picked up the phone the next morning, Roy asked me where I was. I told him I was home. He told me he would like to talk things over with me at his house. I said, okay, I'll be there. I won't be able to move on until I close this part of my life for good. My mom and Maya went to Roy's house. There was Roy, Yami's brother Kim, and his uncle. Even though I know it's silly, I thought Roy would own up to what he did and be honest with me. Oh no, I was wrong. As soon as we were all settled, Roy started yelling at me for making a fuss at the wedding dress shop. Afterward, he told me about Kim's vanishing and how upset she was about my mom's statements that made her sound like she might hurt herself, how he and his mom had to drive all night looking for Kim, and how heartless I was to ignore Yami's call. I asked him in a calm voice where I had been that night. I hadn't picked up my phone either, just like Kim. I was also upset by our fight. Did he ever think about how I would be? He was quiet for a short time before trying to speak, but he had trouble pronouncing his words. It made no sense at all. I told him that I now knew who was more important to him than me, and it was definitely not me. Kids fight over the smallest things these days. His uncle spoke to my dad while I was talking. You should tell your daughter that marriage isn't always what it seems like, and that it requires giving up things. My dad told him to let my daughter talk to her fiancé, because it's her life, and she is the only one who can tell how bad a problem is. I turned back to Roy and said, I know that your sister is the main chick and I'm the side chick. Any woman worth her salt won't put up with being her own husband's side chick. I also told him, you are welcome to marry your sister in the perfect wedding she has planned. In this moment, I saw Roy's face turn red. Then, before I knew it, he had hit me so hard in the face that my inner cheek and nose started to bleed. He got hit in the face by my dad, suffocated him, and hit him in the stomach over and over. Yami, my mum, and Roy's uncle kept my dad and Roy away from each other. Maya was giving me a tight hug and wiping my nose when Kim screamed like a maniac and blamed me for something. I can't. I don't remember what she said. Even Maya can't remember everything about it. She walked up to me and warned me she would punch me. She also said something like, I wish you had never come into our lives and made it a living hell. Maya grabbed Kim's hand and gave her a backhand bitch slap before Kim could hit me. As Kim fell to the ground, she screamed like she was being skinned alive. At this point, the neighbors came in and split the group up. After a short time, the ambulance and cops showed up. Roy had blue skin and blood coming out of his mouth. A police car took him away. I was put into a different car. Roy wasn't in the police station where my family and his family were sitting after getting medical care. In its place, I was taken there. Yami told me she was sorry and wished me luck in the future. After hearing my story, the cops asked if I was ready to file charges against Roy. I said I did. Someone told me that he had broken one of his ribs and lost a tooth. So, there's a chance that he will press charges against my dad. Everybody was free to go home by midnight. This morning, my friends came over, and we all ate breakfast together. The more we talked, the more we agreed that I need to start taking medicine and going to therapy for my mental health. My dad was always telling stupid jokes while we ate pizza for lunch. The owner of the account, my mom Maya, and my two best friends then started to read the comments on my post. When people replied to my post about wanting to cry and calling my mom was thrilled. She told me I should never be afraid to be open and honest with them. I don't have to act strong for them when I'm really hurting. If only I had called her earlier, she would have been happy. I very much value all of you taking the time to leave say something, or show care for a complete stranger. People like you help me see things so clearly that I wouldn't have been able to see them before. I might have even given in to my desire to forgive and gotten married to someone bad. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. You have all helped me believe in people again. I also agree with those who said I should build up my backbone, but I want to share my opinion with my country. Girls are told from a very young age that good girls keep families together and bad girls break them up. For some reason, this thought has been in my head since I was very young, even though my parents never taught me that. That's why I wouldn't talk to Kim about it. I didn't want to start a fight between them because the bad girls do that. We hope that therapy will help fix it. Along with the past and the relationship, I'm still sad about the loss of the beautiful future I had pictured. I'm sad because I miss the life I had with my lover, someone from real life who never lived. I feel better, even though I know it will take some time for me to get better. They are so happy, but they don't tell me because they know I'm still in pain. It looks like they have gone back in time in terms of age. Roy is no longer getting care at the hospital. I hope that he and his sister have a happy ending. Next story, I didn't want to have one last talk with my cheating ex-wife who is dying. Now her family is yelling at me, but my kids love the choice I made. For me, I'm 45 years old, and Lucifer used to be my partner. We will not reveal who we are. 43F, we went out together for 7 years before getting married. We had 3 kids from this: Dean, 21 months, Kylie, 19 months, and Jax, 17 months. The names were made up to protect their privacy. A few months before I filed for divorce, I noticed that Lucifer was becoming more and more demanding and suspicious. She had to know where I was. Who was going if I left. My grandma and my uncle needed help moving some big, new furniture into their flat, so I went to their flat to help them. She was determined to know where I was going, even though I had already told her. I looked into what could be causing these kinds of things and found that they could be signs of cheating. It looks like I was right. A friend of mine told me that she was seen kissing and chatting with another guy in a restaurant where he was eating with his mother and brothers. Those shots came from him. I turned in my divorce papers, etc. You get it. I only really wanted 80/20 access and to keep my money. What I got out of the divorce didn't matter to me. No surprise, she didn't argue about anything other than jail time. I did get 7030 instead of 8020 though. I got back up because I still had primary care. Anyhow, this year, my ex-partner has cancer that will kill her. When Dean told me about Kylie and Jax, it didn't bother me much. I tried to make my kids feel better, but I didn't feel sorry for myself. To be honest, I feel bad about this because I was excited to have full care of Jax. When Kylie turned 18, she chose to live with me by herself since Dean had already moved out. Because of this, Dean called me a few days later. He told me Lucifer was sick and that she had begged Dean to talk to her. Basically, her last request was to talk to me one last time. To be honest, I told Dean right away that I wouldn't talk to her. I was no longer interested in this woman after I found out she had cheated on me. Dean agreed with this, but he also told me I might get a call from his mother's side because they had treated her like she was the center of the world in her last few months. My ex-in-laws got my phone number and have been calling and texting me non-stop, saying I'm mean and cruel for not giving my ex what he really wanted. My kids and my ex-spouse's cousins, who she was never friends with, are on my side. But she has the backing of Lucifer's whole family and a few people they both know. Reddit, thanks for paying attention. Hello, First News. Yesterday I wrote on my blog about how I turned down my ex-wife's last request. Anyhow, the fact that this is just a small change is why I officially call it an update. That is, small. It's mostly just a group answer to some general comments. First, I want to thank everyone who told me what they thought, loved, hated, or laughed about Lucifer's name. Don't keep telling everyone that her cancer is her fate. No matter how much I don't like her, I would never wish cancer, especially cancer that kills, on anyone. Not even the woman who made me unhappy for a few months. That kind of talk is kind of strange. I also want to talk about how angry I am at my ex. To be clear, I don't hate her. Why? It seems like a waste of time and energy for me to have to think about her. Anyhow, I don't have to do that very often. What's even stranger is that 2 of my kids no longer live with her part-time. Take a trip to the very few that are putting me down. If you are going to say what you think, be polite about it. As promised, here is the short report. Many of you told me not to talk to Lucifer in person, but to send her a video or a letter instead. I asked my kids what they thought after talking to them all at once. I also told them that the above idea was the only way I could go about doing what she asked. Every single one of my kids has decided that they will understand if I don't talk to her, even though they want me to. During that meeting, I told them for the nth time that I was really thinking about writing a letter or making a video, but I need more time to think about whether I want to do it or not. I went again. That they don't know on the internet. What should I do? Please help. Correction, I meant to say video call instead of video. I'm sorry about that. Good morning. Second report. A long time ago. There was a time when I wrote a post about Lucifer, my ex-wife, and an update that I didn't think was proper. I'm doing this to give you all a report and answer some questions. That being said, I'll start with the 2 main questions. First, did I talk to her? In the end, I chose not to do it. I first decided a few months ago that I would do it in person for the sake of my kids. However, as soon as I got to the hospital, I began to breathe too quickly and almost passed out. Following this, I chose to keep my word. I didn't think it was worth risking my life to talk to someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Did I make her a video? Is the second question, which is pretty much the same. Call her up or write her a letter. Also, I gave this some thought. But after deciding that I could, something happened that stopped me. First, let me catch up with you. Some of Lucifer's family members who had been bothering me started attacking me in public on social media soon after I replied. And there were more people who attacked me. The majority of these people I didn't know. After my 3 kids talked to their mom's family and made it clear that they would stop talking to them if this behavior kept up, the posts were taken down. After this, it seems to end. This was done for me by my kids, and I'm grateful and lucky to have them. They did it even though they didn't have to. Not long after that, we found out that Lucifer could indeed come back to life. In other words, the doctors were working on a treatment because the main reason she died was no longer harmful. It didn't last long. He died while she slept just this week. My kids and their family are all very upset. I have done everything I could to help and comfort my kids during this whole experience. I've told my kids that they need to start planning her funeral. I've decided to go because my oldest son Dean asked me to. And at Lucifer's request, at the request of a friend of ours, John 42M, he helped me get divorced even though he was still friends with Lucifer. It feels like I owe him something. John said he would sit with me and watch out for me so Lucifer's family wouldn't bother me. My middle child, Jax, and my youngest child, Kylie, have both chosen to talk to family and friends to take their minds off of things.